There's a Himalayan salt class check-in that the market put together, and you can... All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of history on this, about the salt blocks. I'll give you the romantic version. So Alexander the Great was in Pakistan, and his horse, Bucephalus, found the salt by licking the rocks. And he really loved his horse, and so he was watching where his horse went, and that's how they found the salt. And so that was the first discovery of it. It was mined by the Mughals later on. And they actually they use a lot of the similar techniques that are used today. So it really hasn't changed all that much. All right, I'm going to give you some technical data. You can heat it up to 700 degrees when you're cooking on it. You could actually probably get it to 800. You probably don't really want to. It won't melt until 1,473. And you could actually, if you wanted to put it in liquid nitrogen, you could flash freeze things. I don't know what the cooking benefit of that would be, but it will withstand that much cold also. The pink is from the natural deposits that are in there. And so you've got magnesium, you've got calcium, you've got sulfur, potassium, and 80 other things that I won't list right this second. And if you go to Montello's and you say, I'm cooking on a salt block, they will know exactly what you need. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to just put it right on there, and I'm going to cook this without anything else on it so you get an idea of how salty it is. So things to know, if you're cooking things and you want it to have less salt, don't cook things that are really lean, and don't cook them for a really long time. Some things require oil, some things don't. If you oil it, it won't absorb as much salt. The oil will be the fatty barrier that'll keep it from absorbing as much salt. So if you're cooking something you don't want it to get too much salt, you can either put that in oil or you can brush the top with oil. Things are going to want to stick a little bit, and so I recommend having a metal spatula and tongs. So when you go to heat them, you want to make sure that you heat it slowly. You don't want to heat it too fast. The reason why you heat it slowly is because it'll last longer, and the first time you heat it, you want to do that one the longest because it's going to kind of cure it. And if you don't use it for a long time or it gets really wet, you want to do that curing process again. It's really simple. Low for 10 minutes, a little bit higher for 10 minutes, a little bit higher for 10 minutes for the ones that are these size. The bigger ones will take a little bit longer. And so same thing with the grill. You want to try to heat it as slow as possible, but your coals are going to make a big difference. So who's going to be the first one to brave trying this? All right, come on up. Salt block and the cheese comes from right here in the market. So Aperitivo supplied the cheese. You could do cold and then hot, but you don't really want to do hot and then cold. And the cold's simple. You don't have to worry about it failing. You don't have to worry about knowing anything else. It's the easiest way to use it. So if you want to use it the first time cold, that's what I recommend. So a cookie sheet with sides, and it kept it from getting too messy. It's a great idea. But this tart pan here, it's got a bottom that you remove. This is how you're going to use it on electric, because you don't want it sitting right on the element. A tart pan with the middle removed, or a wok ring, is what you'll need to get it right off your stove top. A gas stove, to put it in the oven part, I don't recommend doing that. If for an hour that you cook it, you're going to make a gallon of water. And the salt block is going to want to retain that water. And as it heats from all directions, there's a possibility that it may go, it's possible that your salt block may dramatically fail. The only real bulletproof way to do a gas oven is to heat it on the stove and then put it in the oven. And even then, you want to be really careful. Orange, lemon, lots of different things that are sweet will absorb that really tasty. Yeah.
You have two options on the shrimp, too. Do them in a shell, or you can do them raw. 2 minutes, max.
And they won't get a ton of salt. The shrimp don't seem to absorb a lot. The shrimp are actually going to be fairly bland with a little bit of salt. And I'm actually going to do it that way just so you get an idea of what you're going to need to add to it. And because, well, a couple of them will put on a fancy one of our spices, and then we'll tell you where you can buy that spice.
How even is the heat?
It's great. The heat is actually, when you have the salt block, it is very good about distributing the heat. That is one of the best things about it. It takes a long time to change the heat. So if you want it, instantly hotter, it doesn't get instantly hotter. But, your variance 422, 407. So we're sitting off this way a little bit. I mean, you don't have that big of variance. If you get a pan out and you look at, if you had this on your pan, you'll see where the burner actually hits it. So you'll get through that first. If you think it's done, most likely it's past done a little bit. It doesn't like to burn things at all. So it's really easy to overcook chicken. It's really easy to overcook beef. So that is, if you're doing it thin, it's the easiest way to control it because you'll know, okay, it's done now. You'll be able to see it brown up on one side, flip it, brown up the other side. And so thin is better. You can do thick things. I'm told that it's really amazing to do green egg grill, really hot, and a steak right on there, and cook it for 7 minutes and flip it and cook it for 7 minutes. I'm told that's amazing. Don't get it wet, but rinse the sponge on the other side. Do it until it's dry. Wipe it down again. Rinse the sponge out. Wipe it down again, and then pat it dry. And as long as you don't have things that are going to transfer flavor, you're good, because it'll kill any of the bacteria and any of the microorganisms that are on there. They won't be able to live on the salt. The salt will keep itself nice and sanitary. The only thing you really got to worry about is the flavor transfer, because if you have big chunks of the last steak you cook on there still, when you go to cook that portobello mushroom, it's going to taste like steak. Yeah, but that may be what you want, so go for it. It's like a seasoned pan. Because you won't be able to get everything, every little speck off, unless you really take a layer off. And you can do, if you want to take a layer off, you can even go to town with sandpaper or just a green scrubby cloth and go abrasive on it, and you'll take it, because it's soft. You'll be able to take off some of the salt. So if you really want to try to make it pretty again, you can, but you'll lessen the lifespan of it. Now here, that brings us to the next point. This will stay hot for a long time. So once your flame goes out, you got about 15 minutes you can cook on it. Try to move it. If you want to cook at the table, it's one of those things where you just want to be really careful. You want to do it at a lower temperature, and probably want to go spend $75 and buy the Kevlar Nomex or welder's gloves. Who got to try the beef? How salty was it? Not very salty, right? It's high fat content. If you get something that has a little more of a fat content, maybe a little, it will help tenderize a lot. It'll take a long time to heat up, but it'll stay hot for a long time. The bacon will absorb a little bit, but it's fatty, right? So the fattiness of the bacon is going to block the egg from getting as much salt, because the egg is what's going to want to absorb the most salt, because the egg has got the most moisture, and the yolk won't want it, but the white will want it. Yes. So 2 pieces of bacon, egg in the middle. I think slather it with butter on either side, put it on the salt block, let it start cooking, and then grab a shot glass, take the middle out, and then put your egg in that. Yeah. Salty and buttery and yeah. If you don't salt it and you put the bread on there, it'll still caramelize the edge of the bread, like it was buttered a little bit, just because of the way the salt reacts with it. What do you think? Let's see what the temperature on that one is.
And then all your friends and family can see it as like a local celebrity. Matt, how long did you have the block on there to bring up?
So I cooked on this one before, and so that one I put on after. This one I left on low for about 20 minutes, and then cranked it up for another 10, and then cranked it up for another 10. And then I had them at temperature about 10 minutes before you guys got here, and I just tried to keep them at about 500. The center's cold and the outside's hot, and it doesn't catch up, then your salt block, if you cook on it and cook on it and cook on it, at some point it will fail. May it be 100 times, or may it's 50 times. At some point it will start cracking and breaking. If it does break, don't throw it away. It's great salt, and it's still good. If you got one of the big ones, you're going to have salt for the next 10 years. Hit it with a hammer, break it up, grind it up, put it in the bathtub, break it up. You could cook shrimp in a bowl and cover it with the broken salt and cook it in a salt bake. Chunk of it, break it, put it on your table and put a microplane next to it, and people can just take the great salt right onto theirs, and then you have something to talk about. I'm a professional. The adobo mix has got some salt to it. Was that good? I marinated this with olive oil and adobo for about an hour. I ate one. I tried to do it when nobody was looking, though. If you use a finishing salt on it, like Fleur de Sel, or you would like the ghost pepper sea salt. I would put that on the tomatoes. That would be really good on the tomatoes, yes. So you could put that on the tomatoes, and that would go really good with a little bit of the balsamic. Yeah. So, but you can put any of the, like the habanero salt, the ghost pepper sea salt, which is actually, it's not going to burn you too bad, but it'll give you that, yeah. And then you could also use, if you wanted something a little bit more mild, you could do like gray salt or the fleur de sel, and it'll stay on it. You'll see actually the salt crystals on there because of the high moisture content. It won't melt into it. And so you'll get that good burst of tasty salt, and then you'll get the taste of whatever it is that you cooked. And so now I'm cooking hotter on this now. I'm almost to 600. And you can see how it's caramelized that side real good. What do you think of the pineapple? That's good, huh? So I'm going to throw in the pineapple. I'm going to throw a little bit of sugar. This is coconut infused sugar. And so the coconut infused sugar, it'll melt on there. It's kind of similar, if you get it hot enough, it's kind of similar to like using a confection. We'll see how it turns out. We're just going to be cooking things and giving it to you. If you got any questions, feel free to come on up, and I'll let you take over if you want to try it. If you do the small blocks, you can pave your grill with them. If you do the small blocks, then you can also do like hamburgers, where you can set one on top and one on the bottom, or chicken breast, and sear both sides at once. So for grilling outside, the small blocks are a great idea, because you can just, buy two, and then later on buy one more and add a third one. And if you want to add a fourth one, you can add a fourth one and pave the entire top. And if one breaks, no big deal. You just replace that one. So for outdoor grilling, small blocks, not a bad idea. Indoor grilling, small blocks, a little bit messy.